this video is about. The mom tripped on the sidewalk until a millionaire held her hand, sparking a connection. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the quaint streets of Maplewood. It was one of those early autumn afternoons when the air was crisp and slightly perfumed with the smell of fallen leaves, a fleeting reminder that change was inevitable. Emily Bennett adjusted her scarf, pulling it tighter around her neck as a gust of wind swept through the trees. She juggled a grocery bag in one hand and a toddler in the other, a spirited 2-year-old named Max, whose laughter rang out like music, brightening the otherwise mundane errand of grocery shopping. Her life had become a series of routines: waking up early to prepare breakfast, taking Max to daycare, working part-time as a graphic designer from home, and then picking him up again. The simplicity of her day-to-day life brought her comfort, yet she sometimes felt like a ship anchored in a harbor, longing for adventure amidst the familiar. The weight of her circumstances, a single mother navigating the challenges of life on her own, pressed down on her, but she bore it with strength forged through necessity. "Look, Mommy," Max squealed, pointing at a pile of leaves that had gathered near the sidewalk. Emily smiled, her heart melting at his innocent excitement. "Yes, honey, it's a big leaf mountain." She leaned down, her auburn hair brushing against his cheek as she helped him gather a few vibrant leaves, the oranges and yellows bright against the gray pavement. "Can we jump in it?" he asked, his blue eyes sparkling with glee. "Let's finish our shopping first," she promised, "and then we'll have our leaf adventure." She straightened, her back cracking slightly as she adjusted the weight of the grocery bag. Just as she turned to continue down the sidewalk, her foot caught on a crack in the pavement. Time slowed as she stumbled forward, the bag slipping from her grasp. The world around her seemed to fade, and she could only focus on the ground rushing up to meet her. But before she could hit the pavement, a warm, strong hand clasped around her wrist, halting her fall. "Whoa there, I've got you." Emily jerked her head up to meet the eyes of a man who had stepped into her moment of chaos. He was tall and strikingly handsome, with tousled dark hair and a sharp jawline. There was an air of confidence about him, an effortless charm that made one feel as though he belonged in a world of luxury and ease. "Thank you," she gasped, her heartbeat racing not just from the near fall but from the intensity of his gaze. "I'm so clumsy sometimes." "Not a problem at all." His voice was smooth like honey, and a grin formed on his lips, revealing a dimple that deepened the appeal of his features. "Is your little one okay?" Max, still cradled in her arms, stared up at the stranger with wide-eyed curiosity. "Who are you?" he asked innocently. "Just a guy passing by who couldn't let a lovely lady tumble," he replied, his focus shifting seamlessly between Emily and her son. "I'm Jack, by the way." "Emily," she replied, tugging her hair behind her ear, suddenly acutely aware of the disarray of her appearance. A mother's day-to-day look was hardly glamorous, and she felt a flush creeping into her cheeks. Jack offered a charming smile, his eyes lighting up with genuine interest. "Nice to meet you, Emily. And this little adventurer is Max, right?" Emily nodded, feeling a sense of warmth spread through her chest at the way he spoke to her son. "Yes, he's my sidekick. We were just on a mission for groceries when I nearly became a sidewalk pancake." Jack chuckled, the sound rich and inviting. "I think I'd prefer to avoid that fate as well." He glanced at the scattered groceries on the ground, a few apples rolling away, and bent down to pick them up. "How about I help you with these?" "Oh no, don't worry about it," she insisted, attempting to sound dismissive but unable to hide the appreciation in her voice. "I can manage." Jack straightened, holding out the apples with a playful glint in his eyes. You've saved me from a potential disaster, and I owe you right. Plus, I can't help but feel like rescuing you was the highlight of my day." The teasing tone in his voice caught her off guard, and for a fleeting moment, Emily felt a thrill at the banter that danced between them. She took the apples, their fingers brushing against each other, igniting a spark that sent a shiver down her spine. "Thanks, I appreciate it." As they stood there, the world around them faded into the background. Emily could feel her heart racing, not just from the embarrassment of her fall, but from the undeniable chemistry radiating between them. For just a moment, she was lost in his eyes, forgetting the worries of her life. The bills, the deadlines, the overwhelming responsibilities. "Where are you headed after this?" Jack asked, breaking the silence, his tone casual yet probing. "Oh, just home," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm a graphic designer, so I'll be working on some projects. Nothing too exciting." "Graphic design? That sounds intriguing. I've always admired creativity." His voice was laced with genuine interest, and Emily found herself leaning in, drawn to his presence. "Thanks, it's just a job to pay the bills," she said, attempting to downplay it. "But I've always loved art. It keeps me sane in the chaos of motherhood." Jack nodded, his expression understanding. "I can imagine. Raising a child must be a full-time job in itself." "It is, but I wouldn't trade it for anything," she said, glancing down at Max, who was now fascinated with a nearby bird. "He's my everything." "I can see that," he replied, his gaze softening as he watched the boy. "You're doing a great job, Emily." "Some days feel more like survival than anything else," she confessed, her vulnerability spilling out before she could stop it. "But yes, we manage." Jack smiled, the warmth in his eyes deepening. "You know, if you ever need an extra hand, I'd be happy to help. I might not have experience with grocery shopping, but I can certainly offer moral support, or babysitting if you're comfortable." Emily blinked, the offer catching her off guard. "You're serious?" "Absolutely," he replied, his voice steady. "I'm new in town and looking to make some friends, and you two seem like a fun duo." The invitation lingered in the air, charged with unspoken possibilities. Emily considered the prospect, the idea of letting someone new into her world, both exhilarating and frightening. The notion of a stranger stepping into her carefully crafted life felt risky, yet oddly enticing. "Okay, I'll think about it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet the words hung between them, filled with potential. "Good," Jack replied, a satisfied smile on his lips. "I'll hold you to that." And as they stood there, amidst the gathering dusk and the rustling leaves, a connection sparked between them, fragile yet undeniable. It was a moment woven with the promise of something new, something unexpected, an invitation to embrace the possibilities that lay just beyond the ordinary. "Come on, Mommy, the leaves." Max tugged at her hand, pulling her back into reality. Emily looked down at her son, then back at Jack, who nodded encouragingly. "Go on, enjoy your leaf adventure. I'll let you get back to it." "Thanks again for helping," she said, a soft smile gracing her lips. She felt an inexplicable urge to linger, to delve deeper into this moment, but she also knew that life beckoned her onward, as it always did. "Take care, Emily. I hope we run into each other again," he said, his gaze piercing through her, as if he could see all the layers of her heart. "Me too," she replied, a warmth blooming within her as she turned away, leading Max toward the pile of leaves, but not before glancing back at him. Jack stood there, a figure of intrigue and charm against the backdrop of the fading sun, an unexpected encounter that had ignited something within her, a flicker of hope for more than just the mundane. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge her notions of love, trust, and the very essence of what it meant to be brave in the face of the unknown. The air was electric as Emily led Max toward the pile of leaves, her heart still fluttering from the unexpected encounter. The afternoon sun had dipped lower, casting a golden hue across the vibrant foliage, making it seem as if the world around her was painted with warmth. She watched as Max leaped into the pile, his laughter ringing out like a bell, pulling her momentarily from the reverie that Jack had left behind. "Look, Mommy, I'm the king of the leaves," he shouted, flailing his tiny arms and sending a spray of leaves flying into the air. Each leaf that danced through the sunlight seemed to carry a piece of the connection she had just experienced, a connection that felt both foreign and strangely exhilarating. "Long live the king," Emily called back, her voice filled with feigned exuberance as she clapped her hands in mock applause. The joy in Max's eyes was infectious, and for a moment, she allowed herself to forget the weight of her responsibilities, the challenges of being a single mother, and the uncertainty that always hung like a cloud over her daily life. As she settled onto the ground beside him, she couldn't shake the feeling that Jack had entered her life for a reason. His presence had been like a gust of wind on a still day, a breath of fresh air that stirred something deep within her. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and forced herself to focus on Max, who was now burying himself in the leaves. "Help me, Mommy, I'm stuck." He giggled, his voice muffled beneath the colorful pile. Emily laughed, shaking her head. "You're not stuck, you're just being silly." She reached towards him, playfully pulling him out of the leaves and pulling him into her embrace. Despite the warmth between them, a small part of her couldn't resist the nagging doubt that loomed in the back of her mind. What could a man like Jack possibly want with her? Was it fair to even entertain the thought of inviting him into their lives when her heart had been so carefully guarded? But in that moment, as she watched Max's glee, she reminded herself of the importance of living in the present. "Let's go home and get ready for our leaf adventure," she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. As they made their way back home, the sun set low in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of pink and orange. The neighborhood felt alive, with families gathered on porches and children playing in yards. Emily's mind drifted back to Jack. His smile, his laugh, they had ignited something within her, a flicker of hope she hadn't realized she had been missing. Once inside their modest apartment, she placed the groceries on the kitchen counter, the familiar routine soothing the restless thoughts that flitted through her mind. "Okay, Super Max," she called, pulling out the apples and setting them in a bowl. "What do you want for dinner? An epic feast or a simple sandwich?" "Sandwich with dinosaur bread," he chimed, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Dinosaur bread it is." Emily laughed, reaching for the bread shaped like dinosaurs that she had bought as a special treat. As she prepared their meal, she couldn't help but wonder what Jack was doing at that very moment. Just as she was spreading peanut butter, her phone buzzed on the countertop. She wiped her hands on a towel and picked it up, her heart racing as she saw an unfamiliar number. "Hello," she answered, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. "Emily," a deep voice resonated on the other end. "Jack," she asked, caught off guard. "Guilty as charged," he replied, a hint of amusement in his tone. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Not at all," she said, her heart skipping a beat. "Just making dinosaur sandwiches for Max. Sounds much more fun than what I'm doing. I'm just sitting at a cafe, and I couldn't stop thinking about our little encounter earlier. How are you guys?" "Good. Max is very happy with his leaves," she replied, a smile spreading across her face as she glanced at her son, who was now trying to balance a stack of dinosaur-shaped bread slices. "What about you?" "Just enjoying the view of the bustling town," he said, and she could almost hear the smirk on his face. "But I'm regretting I didn't ask for your number sooner. Too busy rescuing lovely ladies, I suppose." Emily felt herself blushing at the compliment, a warmth spreading through her. Well, I'm glad you did. It's nice to hear from you. Is it okay if I take you two out for dinner sometime? He asked, his voice steady and sincere. Dinner like out. The idea caught her off guard and she hesitated. Only if you're comfortable. I promise to make it fun, not just for you but for Max too, he added, the sincerity in his tone making her pulse quicken. Max, having overheard part of the conversation, chimed in from the other room. Can we go to the dinosaur restaurant? Jack chuckled, and Emily could picture him shaking his head, amused. I'll do my best to find a dinosaur restaurant then. What do you say, Emily? Her heart raced, torn between excitement and apprehension. I'll think about it, she said, unable to suppress the smile tugging at her lips. Fair enough, he replied, sounding pleased. Just know I'm looking forward to seeing that smile in person. You're quite the charmer, Jack. The playful banter floated between them, and for the first time she felt a sense of ease. Only with lovely ladies, he teased. But seriously, I'll let you get back to your dino sandwiches. Just think about it, okay? I will, she promised, feeling a flutter of possibility blooming in her chest. As she hung up the phone, she turned to find Max grinning from ear to ear, his hands covered in peanut butter. Did you just talk to the nice man? Don't get too excited, mister. He's just a guy who helped us earlier. Can he come play with us? Max asked, his innocence tugging at Emily's heartstrings. He might if he wants to, she said, knowing that the thought left a lingering warmth. Just as they sat down to dinner, the conversation turned to dinosaurs, and Emily found herself smiling more than she had in ages. Later that evening, as she tucked Max into bed, she couldn't shake the feeling of Jack's presence lingering like a whisper in her mind. Mommy, Max's small voice broke through her thoughts. Yes, sweetheart. Do you think the nice man will come back? He asked, his eyes heavy with sleep. Emily brushed her fingers through his hair, contemplating his innocent question. Maybe, she said softly, finally allowing herself to hope. Maybe he will. With a gentle kiss on his forehead, she turned off the light and stepped outside into the calm of the night. The cool air enveloped her, and she gazed up at the stars that twinkled above, feeling a shift within herself. Just beyond the horizon of her familiar world lay a chance for something more, an embrace of life's unpredictability that she had been too afraid to grasp. The following days passed in a blur of routines, yet Emily found herself checking her phone more often, anticipation fluttering in her chest with every buzz. Jack's charm and sincerity played on repeat in her mind, almost like a favorite song that wouldn't leave her head. She'd think of how he had looked at her, how he had treated Max, and the way he made her feel, all of which brought a smile to her face. As the week wore on, she found herself working late into the night, pouring her heart into her graphic design projects. But the little moments when she thought of Jack made the mundane feel vibrant. The leaves had begun to fall in earnest, carpeting the streets in hues of orange and red, a visual reminder that change was indeed coming, whether she welcomed it or not. Finally, Friday arrived, and as she prepared for bed, she felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She had decided to take a leap of faith and text Jack. After all, what was there to lose? Her heart raced as she typed a simple message. Are we still on for dinner? Max would love to see you again. Within moments, her phone buzzed with his reply. Absolutely. Where shall we meet? With a grin, she quickly texted back, her pulse quickening at the thought of seeing him again. How about the diner on Maple Street? They have great milkshakes and a friendly atmosphere. Milkshakes and dinosaurs. Sounds like a perfect combination. What time? Let's say 6. Perfect. Can't wait to see you both, he replied, and she felt her heart lift at the warmth in his words. As she drifted off to sleep that night, a subtle excitement coursed through her veins. She was stepping out of her comfort zone, embracing the unknown, and for the first time in years, she felt the possibility of something new, something unexpected on the horizon, a chance for love and connection, even amidst the chaos of motherhood. And as the leaves continued to fall, she looked forward to seeing where this path might lead, fueled by the thrill of possibility that lingered in the cool autumn. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over Maplewood as Emily stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her hair with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. Tonight felt different. Tonight felt like a leap into the unknown, a venture beyond her carefully constructed world of routine and responsibility. She could hear Max in the other room, humming a tune while playing with his toys, blissfully unaware of the significance of the evening ahead. "Mommy, can I wear my dinosaur shirt?" Max called out, his voice filled with eagerness. "Absolutely, buddy. The more dinosaurs, the better." Emily replied, her heart swelling at his enthusiasm. She recalled how Jack had mentioned his fondness for dinosaurs during their last encounter, and the thought of their shared interests made her smile. As Max darted into the living room, wearing his brightly colored shirt adorned with roaring T-Rexes, Emily couldn't help but chuckle. "You look like the king of dinosaurs himself," she declared, kneeling to fix his collar. "Rower," he exclaimed, striking a pose that sent ripples of laughter through her. She felt a rush of affection for her son, whose innocent joy was a reminder of the simple pleasures in life, even amidst the complexities of adulthood. "All right, my little dinosaur, let's get ready to conquer this dinner," she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. As she finished getting dressed, she opted for a simple yet elegant navy dress that hugged her form while still allowing for comfort. She felt almost nervous as she looked at her reflection, applying just a hint of makeup to enhance her natural features. She wanted to look nice, but more importantly, she wanted to feel like herself, even if that self had been buried under layers of motherhood and responsibility for far too long. "Mommy, are you beautiful?" Max asked, his eyes wide with admiration as he swung into the room, his tiny hands clasped behind his back. Emily leaned down, brushing a kiss against his forehead. "You're the sweetest. And yes, I like to think I clean up nicely for our special dinner. Jack is going to think you're super-duper beautiful," he said, his innocent belief in her beauty melting away the remnants of her self-doubt. "Thank you, Max. That means a lot," she whispered, her heart fluttering at the thought of Jack. Would he really think so? Their last conversation had left her feeling buoyant, but now the weight of anticipation settled heavily in her chest. As they made their way to the diner, Max chattered excitedly about all the dinosaurs he hoped to see. The streets were alive with activity. Families clustered in front yards, laughter echoed from nearby homes, and the air was filled with the scent of wood smoke mingling with the crisp autumn breeze. Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging, a sharp contrast to her earlier feelings of isolation. "Mommy, are we going to have milkshakes?" Max asked, his voice filled with childlike wonder. "Of course. And fries if you're lucky," she replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. As they approached the diner, a nostalgic neon sign flickered to life, casting a warm glow that promised comfort. Emily felt a flutter of nerves as she pushed open the door, the jingle of the bell announcing their arrival. The interior was cozy, filled with checkered booths and friendly faces. "Look at all the pictures of dinosaurs," Max exclaimed, pointing at the colorful murals splashed across the walls. Emily laughed, feeling her tension begin to dissipate as they were greeted with the familiar sights. "See, this place is perfect for us." Just as she settled Max into a booth, she spotted Jack entering the diner. He wore a fitted black jacket over a crisp white shirt, and his dark hair fell perfectly as he scanned the room. Their eyes met, and in that instant the world around them blurred into insignificance. He smiled, That warm, disarming smile that seemed to light up the room, and Emily could feel her heart leap. "Hey, you too," Jack called, making his way toward them with an easy confidence. "I hope I'm not late." "Not at all," Emily said, her voice more upbeat than she had expected. "We just got here." As Jack slid into the booth across from them, his eyes sparkled with genuine interest. "Max, buddy, you look like you're ready to take on the world with that shirt," he said, leaning forward with an inviting tone. "Thanks, I'm the king of dinosaurs," Max exclaimed, puffing out his chest proudly. "Then it's an honor to be in your royal presence," Jack replied with a mock bow, making Max giggle uncontrollably. Emily couldn't help but admire the effortless way Jack interacted with Max. It was as if he had known them for ages, and she felt a warmth spread in her chest at the ease of their connection. "So, what's the first order of business, King Max?" Jack asked, glancing at the menu with a playful grin. "Milkshakes," Max shouted, his blue eyes shining with excitement. "Milkshakes it is," Jack agreed, looking at Emily. "What about you, Emily? What's your milkshake of choice?" "Chocolate always," she said, meeting his gaze. The chemistry simmered in the air, palpable and thrilling, reminding her of the butterflies she used to feel as a teenager. "Chocolate it is," he said with a wink, as the waitress approached to take their orders. Emily felt her heart give a little jump, a thrill of anticipation mixed with vulnerability. "So, Jack, what brings you to Maplewood?" Emily asked, trying to steer the conversation into comfortable territory. "I just moved here for work," he replied, his tone earnest as he leaned back against the booth. "I'm starting a tech company, and I've always loved the vibe of small towns. It feels like a refreshing change from the city." "That sounds exciting," Emily remarked, genuinely intrigued. "What inspired you to make that leap?" Jack paused, considering her question. "Honestly, I wanted something different. I've been working in the corporate world for years, and it felt like I was just going through the motions. I wanted to create something meaningful, and I thought moving here would help me find that." Emily felt an unexpected connection to his words. "I can understand that. Sometimes life feels like a series of routines, and it's easy to lose sight of what you truly want." "Exactly," Jack said, his eyes locking onto hers. "You get it." An electric silence enveloped them for a moment, and Emily felt her heart race again. She could sense the chemistry between them growing, building like the tension before a storm. Max, oblivious to the subtle shift in energy, crunched on fries and hummed contentedly, his joy contagious. "Okay, so how do we make this dinner even more fun?" Jack said, breaking the tension with a playful grin. "How about a game of Would You Rather?" "Yeah, I love that game," Max shouted, his excitement infectious. "All right, I'll start," Jack declared, leaning forward conspiratorially. "Would you rather have a pet dinosaur or be able to fly?" Max's eyes widened. "Pet dinosaur, I'd ride it to school." Emily laughed, feeling lighter as the playful banter flowed between them. Jack's ability to engage with Max while still connecting with her sparked a sense of ease, the kind she hadn't felt in a long time. As the evening wore on, they played game after game, laughter spilling from their booth like sweet nectar. Emily marveled at how easily Jack wove his way into their lives, making her feel seen and appreciated. "Okay, my turn," Max said, his small face scrunching in concentration. "Would you rather eat broccoli or broccoli?" Emily chuckled. "Tough choice." But before she could elaborate, Jack chimed in. "If I had to choose, I'd go with broccoli, but only if it comes with chocolate milkshake on the side." Max burst into laughter, and in that moment, Emily felt an overwhelming tide of warmth wash over her. Eventually, the waitress returned with their milkshakes, towering glasses adorned with whipped cream and cherries. As they raised their glasses for a toast, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude wash over her. Here she was, sitting across from a man who felt surprisingly familiar, sharing a moment that seemed to transcend the ordinary. "To dinosaurs and adventures," Jack said, his voice rich with sincerity. "Cheers," they echoed, clinking their glasses together. In that instant, Emily felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Perhaps this was what she had been yearning for, a connection that was more than just a fleeting moment, a chance to embrace the unknown and allow herself to feel again. The evening unfolded with light-hearted banter and laughter, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of something deeper, an emotional tension that simmered just below the surface. "Max, you're going to have to keep me updated on all your dinosaur adventures," Jack said as they finished their milkshakes, his voice sincere as he turned his attention back to Max. "Okay, but only if you come on adventures with us," Max replied, his eyes shining with excitement. "You have a deal," Jack said, extending his hand toward Max for a shake. "And I'll bring all the dinosaur treats." Emily watched the exchange, her heart between them, and she felt a swell of warmth and affection. It was remarkable how effortlessly Jack had woven his way into their lives, bringing laughter and joy along with him. She found herself growing more comfortable in his presence, as if he had become a part of the fabric of their little family in these fleeting moments. As they moved on to the next round of games, Emily couldn't help but notice the way Jack's attention shifted from Max to her, the intensity in his gaze lingering longer than necessary. It was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking, making her acutely aware of her own feelings. There was a spark of attraction that pulsed between them, friendly, yes, but layered with an undercurrent of something deeper, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. "All right, here's a tough one," Jack said, his voice teasing as he leaned in closer, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Would you rather have a superpower of your choice or get $1 million? Max's eyes widened. "Superpower, can it be flying?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. "Of course," Jack replied, his tone playful. "But you have to promise to take me with you when you fly." "Okay, but I'll just fly to Dinosaur Land," Max declared, his imagination running wild. Emily chuckled, but as she watched Jack interact with her son, a flicker of something stirred within her. She could feel the way Jack was seamlessly integrating himself into their lives, and a question loomed in the back of her mind. Was she ready for this? As she pondered this thought, Jack turned his attention to her, the teasing smile still playing on his lips. "What about you, Emily? Which would you choose?" She hesitated, the weight of his gaze causing her heart to race. "Honestly, a superpower sounds amazing. I'd love the ability to pause time," she mused. "Sometimes it feels like life is moving too fast, and I'd love to hold on to moments just a little longer." Jack's expression softened, the teasing glint replaced with sincerity. "That's a beautiful choice," he said. "I can see how much you cherish these moments with Max." Feeling the warmth of his words, Emily could feel the tension in her chest ease, even as a new layer of vulnerability emerged. "It's true. I want to soak up every second with him, even the messy parts." "I get that," Jack replied. "Life can be chaotic, but it's those little moments that make it all worthwhile." The sincerity in his voice struck a chord within her, and she found herself momentarily lost in the depths of his gaze. It was the way he listened, really listened, that drew her in. He was interested not just in her words, but in the essence of who she was. Just then, their waitress arrived with a plate of fries, and the moment shifted back to the playful atmosphere that had enveloped them throughout the evening. "Fries for the king and his court," she announced, setting the plate between them. "Yay," Max cheered, grabbing a fry and waving it in the air like a trophy. "Look, Mommy, I'm the king of fries now." Jack laughed, and Emily felt herself smile at the sight of the two of them sharing this moment. Max's innocent joy was a reminder of how precious childhood could be, a time filled with wonder and imagination. "Let's make a fry pyramid," Max declared, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "A fry pyramid. Now that sounds like a challenge," Jack said, his voice filled with playful competition. "I'm in." As they began stacking fries, Max took the lead, carefully balancing one fry on top of another, a look of deep concentration on his face. Emily watched, her heart swelling with affection for both of them. Jack had taken to Max so easily, and the sight of them together felt like a breath of fresh air, a reminder that connections could be forged in the most unexpected of ways. After a few minutes of laughter and playful banter, Max triumphantly announced, "Look, it's a fry mountain." "Impressive work, Your Royal Highness," Jack said, bowing his head in mock deference. "Shall we celebrate by eating it?" "Definitely." Max cheered, and with that, they dove into the fries, sharing bites and laughter as the playful spirit of the evening enveloped them. As they enjoyed their meal, Emily found herself settling into the warmth of their connection. Jack was charming yet grounded, and his ease with Max made her heart flutter in a way that felt both exciting and terrifying. She noticed the way he would occasionally glance at her, his expression thoughtful, as if he were genuinely interested in her. Not just as a mother, but as a person. "So, Emily, what do you enjoy doing when you're not being a superhero mom?" Jack asked, drawing her back into the conversation. She considered his question, a part of her hesitating to reveal too much. "I love graphic design," she said at last. "It's more than just a job for me. It's a form of expression. I enjoy creating things that resonate with people." "Art can be a powerful tool," Jack replied, his gaze steady. "I admire that you found a way to express yourself amidst the chaos of life." Her heart fluttered at his words, and she felt a warmth spread through her. "Thank you. It's something I'm passionate about, even if it sometimes feels like a distant memory." Jack nodded, his expression softening further. "I can relate to that. It's easy to lose sight of what we love when life gets busy, but it's important to hold onto those passions." Their eyes locked, and in that moment the world around them faded into the background. Emily felt a pull toward him, an urge to step closer and share her dreams, her fears, everything that had shaped her into the woman she was today. But just as the thought crossed her mind, she felt the weight of reality crash back in. She was a single mother, and with that came the fear of vulnerability, of exposing herself to potential hurt. "Okay, next question," Jack said, breaking the silence and shifting the mood back to lightheartedness. "What do you think is the most ridiculous dinosaur?" Max gasped, his eyes widening with excitement. "Oh, I know, the one with the long neck, the Brontosaurus." "Good choice," Jack laughed. "But I would argue the most ridiculous one is the Stegosaurus. I mean, who thought that those plates on its back were a good idea? It looks like it's wearing a very confused dinosaur costume." Max erupted into giggles, and Emily found herself joining in the laughter. Jack's playful nature had a way of cutting through the tension that she had wrapped around herself like a shield. As the evening wore on and the laughter continued to flow, Emily began to relax fully into the moment. She felt lighter than she had in years, as if the burdens she had carried were dissipating with each shared smile and giggle. There was something undeniably magical about this evening, and she found herself thinking that perhaps, just perhaps, she could allow herself to explore this connection with Jack a little more. After they had polished off the last of the fries, Max leaned back in his seat, a satisfied grin on his face. "That was the best dinner ever," he declared. Jack beamed at him. "I'm glad you had fun, King Max. You've made this the best adventure I've had in a long time." Emily felt her heart swell at the sight of the two of them. Max, with his wild imagination and unyielding joy, and Jack, with his effortless charm and sincerity. It was a beautiful pairing, and it made her wonder about the possibilities that lay ahead. As they wrapped up the meal, Jack turned to Emily, his expression shifting to one of seriousness. "I really enjoyed tonight," he said, his voice low and earnest. "You and Max are incredible, and I'd love the chance to get to know both of you better." Emily felt her breath hitch in her throat, a sense of possibility blooming within her. "I'd like that too, Jack," she replied softly, her heart racing at the thought of what could unfold. "Great," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "Maybe next time we can have an adventure in the park or a trip to the dinosaur museum." Max's eyes lit up. "Ooh, can we, Mommy?" "Why not?" she said, her heart responding to the excitement in Max's voice. "That sounds wonderful." As they gathered their things and made their way out of the diner, the cool night air wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. Emily glanced over at Jack, who was walking alongside her, and felt a sense of hope unfurling within her. Perhaps this was the beginning of something beautiful, a connection that transcended the ordinary, inviting her to embrace the thrill of the unknown. As they walked home, she couldn't help but feel that with every step, they were forging a new path together, one filled with laughter, adventure, and the promise of what lay ahead. And as she glanced up at the stars twinkling in the sky above, she realized that sometimes it was worth taking a leap of faith, if only to discover how far the heart could soar when given the chance.